the problem with following a couple of erudite and eloquent speakers such as Robin and Aileen is that you're likely to find that they have said most of the things that you were planning on saying, which can be annoying, especially when you said them better than you ever could. Tell you what else is annoying? Willie Rennie. No, apart from Willie Rennie. Something else that's annoying. People who answer a question with another question. You know the kind of thing I mean. What do you want for dinner? What do you fancy? What would you like to drink? What are you having? Are you okay under that bus? Do I look as if I'm okay? That sort of thing. It can all be very annoying. But sometimes you can't avoid it. Sometimes you can't help answering a question with a question, because sometimes the question that you're asked begs another question. Like when people say to me, what persuaded you that Scotland should be an independent country? Why would I need to be persuaded? Independence is not some extraordinary, outlandish condition for a nation. Independence is the default status of all nations. Independence is normal. This is a message that I think we've all got to get across, that independence is not something unusual, something scary. Independence is just normal. Why would I need to be persuaded that Scotland needs to be normal? Don't understand. I'll tell you what's not normal. Being subject to government by people and parties that we have decisively rejected at the polls. That's not normal. Is that normal? No, it's not normal. Having imposed on us policies that have been opposed by the representatives that we have elected, policies that are abhorred by the vast majority of our people, that's not normal. Is that normal? No, it's not normal. The very existence of our nation being only grudgingly recognised at best, and the sovereignty of our people being explicitly denied in our own country, that's not normal. Is that normal? No, that's not normal. Being independent is normal. I'm approaching 63 years of age. I moisturise. And there's a little contrast here with the stories that Amanda and Aileen were telling, their story of their journey to yes. It seems to me that I've known all my life that Scotland should be independent. It isn't something I had to figure out. It isn't something that I had to have explained to me. It isn't something I had to be persuaded of. I seek for Scotland no more than that status which every other nation assumes to be theirs by right. I seek no more than the restoration of our nation's rightful constitutional status. I seek this not in the expectation of profit or for anything that's promised, simply because it's right, it's proper, it's normal. That's my starting point in this great debate that our nation is engaged with. And if it sounds like a passionate argument, if it sounds like an argument from the heart, then I make no more apology for that than I do for responding to the question, what persuaded you Scotland should be an independent country, by saying, why should I need to be persuaded? The response reflects what I feel. The response is not just some politician's cunningly crafted soundbite. It's not as it's some pundit's pompous opinion. The response is from my heart. The response is totally honest. Of course, I'm aware that there are practical issues. To argue from the heart, to make the passionate case for independence, is not to deny the relevance of these practical issues. It's merely to put them in a more complete context, a more human context. A context which doesn't seek to deny our humanity by making the great issue before us nothing more than the cold and soulless calculation of an accountant. Ian McWhirter, the journalist, Ian McWhirter, put it very well, as he has a tendency to do. A nation is more than a balance sheet. I would add to that we, each of us here, and everyone else besides, we're more than mere beads on some monstrous corporate abacus. We're human beings, we're people with feelings. To insist that those feelings are not relevant to the decisions that we make is to deny half, and possibly more than half, of our humanity. My ambition, my desire, my passion for independence comes both from the urging of my heart and from the calculation of my mind. That too is normal. Of course there are practical issues. Don't mistake me for some starry-eyed, woolly-minded romantic. I'm our old and our cynical for that. My passion for independence is real, but I strongly believe that passion should serve our intellect rather than rule it. Passion should drive us, not simply to achieve an aim, but to ask searching, probing questions about that aim and our motivations for pursuing it. Passion should infuse our arguments, augmenting and strengthening them. Passion should never pretend to be an argument in itself. Passion must take its proper place alongside pragmatism. Passion should never be blind and unthinking. But passion must always have a place in our politics if our politics is to have a place in human society. Real people have dreams. How relevant to real people can politics be if it's devoid of a dream? Having a dream is normal. Of course there are practical issues. If it's facts and figures that you want, there's a very nice, very clever man called John Swinney, who has facts and figures coming out of his attaché case. And he's really good. He's really good at explaining these facts and figures. His belief in independence has not deterred or diverted him from addressing these practical issues. Rather, it's driven him to better formulate and articulate the arguments that serve his ambition. John Swinney's not alone, of course. There are countless people in the SNP, in the Scottish Greens, in the Scottish Socialist Party, Women for Independence, in Business for Scotland, and too many other parties, organisations and groups to mention, who are making a solid, practical case for independence. But there's no spreadsheet function, no algorithm, equation or calculation that can make the decision for you next year. As each of us steps into that booth and picks up that pencil, we will be guided as much by our feelings as any rational assessment of the information we have been plied with in the months leading up to that date. We will, all of us, vote with our hearts as well as with our heads. That is perfectly normal. Don't let anybody tell you it's not. I said earlier that I seek independence because it feels right, rather than for anything that is promised. But this is not to say that independence does not have a promise. And by that I don't mean, I'm not talking about the all too often empty promises of politicians, begging your pardon me, but of promise in the sense of possibility, of potential and hope. I speak of promise in the sense of that dream that should ideally be at the very heart of our politics. For decades now, we've been told that our dreams don't matter. Our hopes and aspirations are of no consequence. Even our rational priorities don't count. They don't matter because people don't matter. All that matters is the heartless economic imperative of the markets. We have been dispossessed. Our politics has been taken from us. It's become the province of spivs, speculators and spin doctors. It's become a wasteland, barren, devoid of humanity, devoid of dreams. It's time to take our politics back. It's time to make our politics human. It's time to make our politics normal. One of the great things about the independence debate is that it's inspired a new vigour and diversity in political discourse here in Scotland. The Jimmy Reid Foundation is just one example of this exciting revival of radical thinking, dare I say, renaissance. The Commonweal project is just one illustration of the fresh, stimulating breeze that's blowing the stour of Scottish politics. For somebody like me, it's a wonderful thing to see. Politics has been energised in a way that we haven't seen for decades. Ideas that have been all but crushed out of existence by the stultifying weight of the neoliberal consensus that dominates the politics of the British state have been reinvigorated by the sense that change is possible. If we can get a referendum on independence, quite unthinkable just a few short years ago, if we can get a referendum on independence, what more might we be able to achieve? Minds have been opened, and hearts have been opened too. People in Scotland are daring to dream again. Isn't this the way our politics should be? Isn't it good that our politics should be driven by aspiration and hope, rather than the fear and despair that is all the British parties offer us? Isn't it right that we should be urged on by the possibility of creating a better, fairer society? Isn't it wonderful to dare to feel just a little bit passionate about politics again? Doesn't it feel like we're starting to emerge from a dark place? Doesn't it feel like we're getting back to normal? That's a lot of questions. Doubtless, you'll have a few questions of your own. I promise I'll try to avoid annoying you by answering your questions with other questions. I promise I'll try to address the practical issues with such factual information as I have at my disposal and such rational analysis as I may be capable of. For the moment, however, I wanted to take this opportunity to speak to you from my heart. From my heart, I want to answer the one question to which all other questions are ancillary. From my heart, I want to answer the question that brooks no prevarication or equivocation. From my heart, I want to answer the question that demands a straight answer. Should Scotland be an independent country? With all the passion in my heart, I say yes.